Hi, I'm Jonathan Farrow and I'm applying for the role as DOP for next year's feature film. I believe the DOP role is where a lot of my skills lie. This is where I also feel my strongest field is in. I feel like I have an eye for cinematography. I feel like I'm precise with shots and evaluate things in detail that are in every single frame. While studying at UCLAN, I've been lucky enough to be a cinematographer on a project called The Promise. Working as DOP on the film allowed me to explore and expand my ability to capture new and important details using the most of every frame. I was also able to have my own script to break down and visualise shots that would come into play in the short film. This is where my sense of creativity first came into play. Using Steve's Blackmagic 4K cinema camera with the prime Sigma lenses was a real treat for me. I felt like I had a creative freedom with being able to bring my visual ideas from the script to life. I also worked with lighting on our project as it plays a key role with being the DOP. The cinema scene from The Promise first comes to mind. This is when I had to use various lights on this particular set. I used hard lighting on the faces of the actors to mimic a cinema screen. I also used an orange tint on the light to create a cinematic effect. This was done by a lighting operator turning the brightness of the light up and down.
The second thing we worked on was a lot more demanding. It was a short film called The Promise, and John was the cinematographer on that, and yeah, I couldn't recommend him more. He just planned it all out beforehand, so when we got to the set we were finishing earlier than we expected. All the shots looked fantastic, the lighting and the cinematography, which John coordinated, was great. And yeah, I couldn't recommend him enough. He's been really fun to work with, and I'd love to work with him on a feature-length film.
Jonathan obviously hadn't used Blackmagic camera before. He stepped into that role, and the shots that he's got, I seriously couldn't be more happy with. The ability for me and the cinematographer to talk very, very closely together, and him not be offended by me making suggestions and me not being offended, because that's, it's a cinematographer's job. Sometimes he's got to question the director and go, is this right? Are you really sure you want this? Because I don't think it's going to look right, and that's absolutely fine.
Before uni, I also worked as a videographer for making wedding videos. Making wedding videos really pushed my boundaries in many ways. Having to get close-ups of people you don't know is very daunting to start with, but I overcome this boundary when I started to receive very positive feedback from the clients I'd worked with on the shoot. Another point from filming wedding videos is that you have to be compliant while working with other people. Being compliant initially made it easier for me to work in a team. I also wasn't afraid to express my own ideas and speak up on where I wanted people to stand and what I wanted people to do.
Hi, I'm Hannah and I'm a wedding photographer from Birmingham. I booked Jonathan last year to work with me on a wedding as a videographer for a really cool and young and hip couple who are really artistic and musical. And Jonathan was perfect for the day. He was professional and punctual, he was really friendly, so really just fitted into the wedding atmosphere, almost like he was one of the guests. So he interacted with people in a really nice way. But not only did he do all of that, but he was extremely creative with the shots that he captured. He took direction from me perfectly, but he also worked on his own initiative and went and gathered things on his own that just really caught his eye. And that made for a really fun and exciting wedding video at the end of the day. So he was a pleasure to work with, and I would love to work with him again.
I have been inspired by many different cinematographers, but Roger Deakins' work on Blade Runner 2047 really helps expand my ideas for my own projects. The yellow to grey colour palette gives a dystopian outlook into Deakins' idea for the colours of the future. Another cinematographer that has inspired me is Gordon Willis. Willis's use of lighting and shadows on The Godfather contrasts the light and dark in this world. Characters are either lit from above or from the side to cast a shadow. This is done by using a hard light on the faces of the actors. The light and dark on the characters gives a sense that every human has a light and dark side. Willis also provides minimal eye light to give a sense of mystery to the characters. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope you consider me for the cinematographer role.